What is going on, Pop Culture Punks listeners? This is Josh coming in for a solo episode. I've never done this before, so bear with me. I've been joking with Phil and Zach that I was going to do this for a while because I could talk for hours, and crazy enough, I could talk by myself for hours. And we owe you an episode. We missed a week due to some communication errors and some traveling and some family things and all sorts of stuff of us moving around and not being able to get together. So this is kind of a makeup episode for the weekend of, I think it was, what was that? November 5th or something? Yeah, so it was for last Sunday. And I was debating, we were going to talk about the Switch, but we're actually going to be talking about this coming Sunday with one of our good friends, Tom Jokes, who's a diehard Nintendo fan like Zach and I. Hopefully Phil will be there to kind of level us out and not be too high in the clouds of how cool Nintendo is, even though they have made their mistakes and they've done some things that have been questionable over the years, but that's neither here nor there because I'm here... I'm here to hate and hop on the hate wagon. Which normally I really don't like when people do. I don't like the social media hate mobs, and I don't like the internet riots that go on hating on stuff, but it's getting ridiculous with some of these game companies, and if some of our old discussions on old episodes, we have pulled no punches when discussing companies like Activision and I can't think of some of the other top three, but specifically Activision, Call of Duty, Microsoft, I joke about, but I have had it. I have absolutely had it with EA, and they have been on my crap list since about 2012 with the launch of Mass Effect 3 and screwing up their endings, and I can't blame EA fully for the Mass Effect 3 debacle, which essentially, to sum it up, was there were the endings that happened, and people got to the end of the game, and the choices for the three endings apparently weren't sufficient. There was enough backstory. Personally, I'm a believer of the indoctrination theory, which if you've played Mass Effect 3 and you haven't looked into the indoctrination theory, look it up. It'll blow your mind. It's pretty crazy. I still think that was a thing, just it didn't catch on, and so whatever. But half joking, half serious. Regardless, the endings weren't very good from the original get-go, and there were a lot of people that were wondering, well, what on earth was it that these endings weren't good? And I don't have any direct quotes because it was, going on 5 years ago. But essentially, there were a lot of theories coming out that EA, because they had just purchased BioWare, I think after Mass Effect 2, I think EA was involved in Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3, that because of EA, they kind of rushed things and didn't allow BioWare enough time to fine-tune the endings to make them the best that they could be, which I don't know if that's true. I'm not gonna dive too deep into whether or not they actually were the ones behind why Mass Effect 3's endings were rushed. All I know is that from that moment, I just had a very sour taste in my mouth with EA. I think it started yesterday, which is Monday the 13th, and I was at work, and one of my coworkers came up to me and he's like, dude, did you hear about Battlefront 2? Yes, this is where I'm going. He's like, yeah, dude, did you hear about Battlefront 2? And I was like, no, what's up? He's like, did you hear about the DLC and having to purchase and buy characters or whatever? And I was like, oh gosh, here we go. And I was like, okay, what are the details? He disclosed to me that you have to play, I need to pull up the statistics. You need to play 40 hours of gameplay online to unlock one of the hero characters or one of the legendary characters like Vader or Luke in the multiplayer or whatever. Honestly, I don't even know in what. And I need to make very clear that I'm not going to dig too deep into the details. This is meant to be a very quick, maybe 15, 20, if 30 if I get too excited, episode solo discussion, but good Lord, I can't fathom that. I cannot in a million years. I do not understand who thought that was a good idea. And not only is it that you need to either play 40 hours of gameplay, which to me is atrocious. Like, I spent 40 hours playing Mass Effect 3's campaign. I spent 40 hours on games like Kingdom Hearts or some of the Pokemon games and stuff. Like, 40 hours is a lot of time to just play one game. And that's not even if you use any of your currency on anything else. That's just if you stockpile it until you have enough to afford one of these characters. So you got that. But it didn't stop. And he clarified, my coworker clarified for me. No. It's not that either you play 40 hours and you don't spend anything and then you get one of those characters. You can either do that, or you can spend $260, which as a barometer, this Black Friday, I mean, granted it's a special time of the year, this Black Friday, PS4s and Xbox Ones will be selling for $200 this year for a console. You're telling me that it costs the price of a modern gen console to get a mother flippin' character in Battlefront 2 to play online, or to play in single player campaign, or whatever the frick they're supposed to be used for. I can't understand that. I cannot believe that. And I have notes so I don't get too derailed. But ever since Mass Effect, I've been wary, and I know that Activision and EA have popped up on a number of most hated companies in America, or I don't know if it was the world or whatever, lists in the past few years, and it's understandable. This is ridiculous. This is straight up bananas. You can't do that. And I mean, you have the legal right to do that, but the long-term repercussions for doing something like this is just astronomical to me. And it just blows my mind that no one saw through this. So I'm gonna get there in a second, but I was Googling before this just to see if there are any more talking points. And I think what's fascinating is there are a lot of people who are mad, of course, understandably so. But I just found an article on comicbook.com. I'm going to put the link in the episode description, so if you're able to copy and paste it from there, awesome. And basically, Blizzard is taking shots at this right now. And they are basically using their StarCraft Twitter handle to take some pretty justified pot shots at EA. So from the Twitter account of StarCraft, this is what Blizzard has posted to EA, I guess, or not directly to EA, but just to the ether of Twitter. So first you got number of hours it takes to earn the full StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty campaign, 0. Pretty basic, haha. Number of hours before you can play any co-op commander in StarCraft 2, 0. And then they go on to post another tweet that says, number of pay-to-win mechanics in StarCraft 2, 0. Couple spaces below, free to play, now live. Simple, but super effective. And why I think this specific article is especially conducive for my discussion is my job is I work in a marketing department. I work for a small company in Madison, decent company and decently sized company in Madison in the marketing department, doing video and content and photography and stuff like that for them. And what baffles me is one of the things that drives so many of our decisions is, are the people that we're selling this to going to like it? And not only that, but are they going to just like this, or they're going to like enough of our stuff, or they're going to like our service, or they're going to like our creativity, or are they going to like everything that we make enough to come back year after year after year? And what I can't understand for the life of me, and granted, let me also clarify that I've been in this job for 4 months now. And I just graduated college, never took a marketing class, never took anything, never did a business, and not saying that as if that was, and not to be pretentious, but I have talked to numerous people that are just game consumers, just fellow gamers. I talked to a couple coworkers about it, and all of us unanimously were like, never touching that in a million years, never. And so for me, I just have to wonder, EA, like, what are you thinking? Who, where in your infrastructure are you looking at this and saying this is a good idea? Not even from an immediate gratification business standpoint, but like, what does this do to our brand? Like, what does this do to EA as a company? And it's just questions like that I just can't possibly believe that anyone in their right mind, without some devious motive of we're just out to make a buck, would think that this is a good idea. I mean, you've got companies, you've got indie developers who are making games with all the content in it, everything already prepackaged, and they're selling buttloads. Why? Because one, they're good games, and two, they're in tune with the fan base that they're making them for. And so what's just laughable to me is like, literally all you need to do, and I mean, this is the second game. This isn't even the first game. This is the second freaking game in the series that they're rebooting from the originals. The first one got crap. Excuse me. The first one got crap because it didn't have a single player campaign, which to me was the whole reason that when I was in middle school, loved the Battlefront series. You just got to sit down with your buds and you'd play through this obnoxious, more or less obnoxious short campaign, but it was just fun. And after that, what did you do? You played split screen, you hopped on, whichever map on the Star Wars universe that you wanted, and you just went nuts. And I remember playing, I think it's Mos Eisley in Battlefront 2, the original Battlefront 2, that you could do this, where you could actually set up what game you wanted to play. And so you and your friends, what you'd do is you could play against each other. And in Mos Eisley, you could do a game setting where you would play, it had all the hero characters unlocked that you could play as. Can you believe it? Can you believe that there was a day and age where you didn't have to pay jack squat to get a character in a game? And in this game, you could play as every single Sith if you join the Sith, every single Jedi. You could play as every single character on either hero portion. And so to think, to be 10 or so years later, and to look at this decision by EA, I just don't know how you can do this. How you can put in a $260 paywall or 40 hours of gameplay behind this. I don't to play a character. We're not even talking DLC or some crazy expansion. For crying out loud, for $260, give me a console or something. Give me tickets to the next however many stupid Star Wars movies they make after this. Good Lord, God, it doesn't make sense from a PR standpoint, from a business standpoint. To me, it just screams short-sightedness. It just screams that EA is in for the immediate. They are not in for the long haul. They're not in for building a brand. They're not in for building a franchise that's meant to last. It's meant to squeeze out every last dollar until people wake up and they go, whoa, EA's doing this. Well, I'm not buying this game anymore. If you haven't woken up, you better wake up today, because goodness sakes, this isn't going away if this continues. And I know, granted, there are going to be people who are going to pull up the news that EA as a result decreased the amount of points needed by 75% to get one of these characters. But in my mind, that doesn't matter, because here's the original Reddit post that started it all, that exploded it all. Sorry, I got too excited. I kind of forgot, and I've completely ditched some of my outlines, so I'll get back to that in a second. But this is the original Reddit post that started it all. So it's MBM Maverick posted, seriously, I paid $80 to have Vader locked. And so we have apparently a direct dev responded. And currently, as of today, this was posted 2 days ago, currently, we have negative 681,000 downvotes. 681,000 downvotes. And first off, before I even read the comment, that's the number of people who have seen their bullcrap. Getting too excited. This is the number of people who have seen EA's nonsense now with this decision, and they've read this particular post from EA. I'm not going to read it with any condescending tone, even though that's really what I want to do. This is the post from EA Community Team. The intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking different heroes. As for cost, we selected initial values based upon data from the open beta and other adjustments made to milestone rewards before launch. Among other things, we're looking at average per player credit earn rates on a daily basis, and we'll be making constant adjustments to ensure that players have challenges that are compelling, rewarding, and of course attainable via gameplay. We appreciate the candid feedback and the passion the community has put forth around the current topics here on Reddit, our forums, and across numerous social media outlets. Our team will continue to make changes and monitor community feedback and update everyone as soon and as often as we can. Now, goodness, I should have grabbed water. I will say, on reading this initially, what this person or whatever was cooked or concocted to make this sound the way it does, it really doesn't sound that bad. This is my issue. One, they do address the as for cost, we selected initial values based on data from open beta. My response: no, you don't put any paywall. Don't put anything. Don't just don't put it like that. Don't have it a $260 like, gosh, I just don't know where that number came from. Like, who thought that was a good idea? And of course, I'm getting riled up. I will acknowledge that I'm getting riled up, and there are probably missing pieces of information that I don't have. And if they are, please send them to me. You can email therebelethic@gmail.com. I'll do a follow-up episode if I need to. But just the idea that anything over, just how much that is, $260. That I'm gonna Google this just to confirm, so I don't sound like a complete idiot. That's what I was told. But let's see, $260 for Vader. Okay, here we go. Kotaku.com. So loading up good old Kotaku. Okay, could take you a very long time. So it is straight from Kotaku. By some estimates, the likes of Luke, Skywalker, and Darth Vader could take close to 40 hours each to unlock for the player intent on not spending any money on microtransactions. Heroes cost credits in Battlefront 2, with the average multiplayer match currently netting people somewhere between 250 and 350 for 10 to 15 minutes of play. The road to buying all of them appears like it will be a long one. And here we go. Luke and Vader are two of the most expensive heroes at 60,000 credits each. But even heroes like Leia and Chewbacca will cost 40,000. Here are some of the calculations one user on Reddit, on the Reddit game Reddit, I think they goofed that, game Reddit came up with. Average galactic assault match, blah, 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 blah. Let's see. They're not giving me the direct number. So one player calculated that it would take $732 to unlock all of the game's heroes for someone who is willing to actually spend the money. I can't. Oh, I can't believe that. I don't. It's not telling me how many, how much credits cost. I don't know what credits are costing. I should make sure. I might have goofed, and it looks like Ubisoft did a similar thing with For Honor, and that was I could be getting that wrong, but I'm seeing a couple of things mentioning the $260 value. So if that's incorrect, that's my poor planning, and I apologize for that. But I'm not gonna hit too hard on that mark, because ultimately, overall, my biggest issue is just why do you need to spend that much time on getting a character? Like, why can't they just be playable from the start? Like, why does there need to be any paywall? Even if, I mean, I threw this out there to my coworker, and I think I do stand by this, and because I would say this similar for games like Overwatch. I would much rather pay Blizzard $2.99 to get a specific skin of a specific character than spend $5 to $10 on just loot boxes. Because in my mind, at least if I'm spending $3, I know exactly where my money is going. I know exactly what I'm getting. And I don't have to sit there being like, well, maybe I'll get it this time after $30 worth of loot boxes. You're not even guaranteed that. You're guaranteed it's a gambling rate. It's like whatever percentage. And so for me, personally, I just cannot justify that. I cannot justify spending any money on something that is just random. And I cannot spend my time on one game for 40 hours. And the people that this is catering to are the people who will be spending unreal amounts of time on this game, which to me, they're part of the problem. We'll get there in a second. But just make them $3 a piece, for crying out loud. Like, just literally make them $3. If you're that bent on getting every cent that you can, at least make it something that's not going to sound so ludicrous. And literally, this is my thing. If no one had come out and questioned how many hours and the amount of money that you need to pay to get this would have just flown by. No one would have said anything. Oh, goodness sakes. I'm just, I'm angry. God, I'm just, this is why they joke. So Phil is the voice of reason, Zach's the jokester, and I'm the ranty one. I'm the angry one. There's a great episode of Psych where all the guys, I can't remember what season. I want to say it's at season 6 or 7. But Last Night Gus, one of the best Psych episodes there is, and Last Night gets called the angry one, and I think they're referring to Henry, but he gets called the angry one, and I'm like, yeah, that's me. I'm the angry one. Because I get riled up, and I get riled up at people's lunacy, and I get riled up at people's lunacy who work for companies like EA. Come on, guys. Jeez. I'm not going to stick too long on this, but to address it, though, some of the lashback, I think this is the thing. We said this when we started the podcast, and I still stand by this, but when I have an issue like this, I have an issue with it because there seems to me viable solutions to move forward and to not do this thing. Excuse me. There are just clear things that EA could have done that would have been better and that wouldn't have gotten them in such hot water, but they didn't do those things. And they tried to get away with doing this. And that's what makes me so irritated. So I'm all for criticism, and I'm all for heavy criticism with, however, constructive feedback and constructive things to at least offer. Same thing for I would say the same thing for any media or politics or any world thing. Criticize all you want as long as you have a suggestion and a viable suggestion. Not a perfectionist, I just know better, but just something of what is wrong with this option that they didn't do this. Now, that being said, there are some people who need to really, really, really calm down. And I'm really irritated with this as much as I am with EA's stupidity. I'm irritated with the lashback stupidity of, these nuts who are sending death threats to the dev who posted this. Or to one of the devs, I guess. There's no excuse for that. There's no excuse for threatening someone's life over a video game. There's no excuse for threatening anyone's life over anything like this. Even bigger or smaller. So for people to be sending death threats about this is just absolute nonsense. Cut it out. Knock it off. Send your gripes, send your suggestions, send all the things, but don't do that. stop. Because now it just makes it worse, and it just escalates it, and something that could have turned into a learning experience for EA and what could have turned into a quote-unquote righteous protest and people, canceling their pre-orders and stuff like that, has turned into basically now people are just slinging mud because EA can turn and say, well, we're getting, some of our people are getting death threats because we made this decision, which those people are hopefully, good Lord, I hope they're bluffing, but just enough with the lunacy. So we've gone through why I'm irritated with EA. We've gone through how many hours it takes to unlock, just characters in the game, how long it takes, or how many dollars it could potentially cost for you to buy them. The down I had been watching with my coworker all day for the downvote. I think it started at like 200,000 or minus 200,000. Excuse me. Not too long after it posted. And now it's jumped to today as of me looking at it right now, which is minus 681,000. Which, if that doesn't tell you that you've done messed up, that should. So get it together. Gone through pricing suggestions. For real, dudes. Like, I don't understand why and really this is to all developers, and we actually have a DLC podcast in the queue and microtransactions in the queue, but I think what reams me is just make it obnoxiously cheap. Like, I don't think that companies realize if you have to sell it, if you're not going to include it with the base game, which that is my penultimate argument. My ultimate argument. My penultimate argument below that is if you have to pay because of whatever justification, if you have to make people pay, at least make it stupid cheap, please. I really should have gotten water. I'm way too excited. At least make it cheap. At least make it a couple dollars that if I really want this, I can get it cheap. We'll move on from there. Like I said, my experience currently working on a marketing team and having everything we do and every decision we make driven by what is going to produce a long-term customer and what is going to produce revenue, not just today, not just for this sale, but for years to come potentially. What can we do and what decision should we make? This to me screams from EA, and I said this earlier and I'm going to say it exactly the same way again. It screams short-sightedness. This is not how you build a fan base. This is how you get a quick dollar, and this is how you destroy your brand. And if I had to bet, if I'm being honest and I'm making a bold prediction, EA's toast. Like, they have been on people's bad lists for a long time. And now with this, I don't know how you recover from this. Like, and not even from a monetary standpoint, because yeah, there will be those few people who, do go out and buy this and spend the $260 on that currency, which to me, shame on you because you're the problem. I just don't understand that. I don't understand how they can think that that's okay. And it's not the developers. Don't be angry. And that was going to be my point with the death threats. Don't be angry at the developers. Not that you should send death threats but like send your criticism and send your anger to the marketing, not even the marketing people, to the top dogs who are the ones making this decision. The devs are just, the people who are forced to do what they, the CEOs and stuff are calling out. But come on, like, who up top is saying that thinks that this is a good idea? Are they a freaking gamer, for crying out loud? No one thinks that this is a good idea. No one. Ran through pricing suggestions. For reals, dude. Like, make it cheaper. Come on. I'm gonna have to call it quits soon, or else I'm gonna start really coughing. Literally, I'm probably one of the majority in why Battlefront 2, or really the Battlefront reboot, was exciting at all. Was because I grew up playing Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2 a ton with friends, a ton with just sleepovers and whatever. And those games were just bananas fun. It was just an unreal level of fun. And what made it fun is you had access to all the characters. There was actually in-game mechanics that you had to get a certain number of kills or score a certain number of points in the game to then get higher levels of soldiers so that you could play as them. So for me, I just don't understand any of this. Literally, if we're going to pull it back even farther, don't make the game you made. You literally, all they had to, literally, they could have avoided so much of this. I'm not saying they shouldn't have added some new things in and made some tweaks and stuff, but literally, if they just would have recreated Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2 from scratch and just rehauled it, given it a new coat of paint, and just literally carbon copied and pasted everything, every single thing into the new game, it would have sold unreal levels of copies. I would have bought that. I would have bought basically a remastered version of Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2. But with this nonsense, I have no interest in Battlefront or any Battlefront game that's going to come out until another company takes it over. Not to mention you got Respawn, who made Titanfall, which I really dug. Titanfall 2 is a dope shooter. If you want a really good first-person shooter, check out Titanfall 2. But now Respawn is under EA, and I just can't help but wonder what they're going to do to Respawn now. And for crying out loud, oh gosh, am I going to have to spend $260 to get a Titan now? Am I going to have to spend however many hours, to get a new gun or something? Just give us the content. Criminy jibs. Ultimately, the reason I even thought it was worth talking about this and even rehashing all these things, which I didn't even touch on the first part of that content. Well, I guess I'm going to get there. So, why this all concerns me. Note to self, bring water to solo cast. Why this all concerns me the most is three things. One, the people that are driving this are the dumb ones paying for this crap. If you know someone who was willing and ready to pay the $260 to unlock Luke or Vader, please, on my behalf, either give them a stern talking to or take their wallet from them. My goodness, the people who drive this industry and these decisions by CEOs, I wouldn't be surprised if it's because people buy this. My coworker threw out a stat that 10%, I think, of the games, the projected sales, only 10% of those people need to spend are projected as the people who are going to basically rebuy and repay for Battlefront 2 and its development and everything. This is on you people. This is on the consumer. As much as it's on people thinking it's okay to even institute this as an option for gamers, it is on the consumer, and it is completely their fault for doing. It is the majority of their fault. And I know I'm kind of backtracking. I'm an external processor, so this is why this is a good format for me. So I'm just gonna keep going, but from there, those said people incentivize companies to keep doing this crap. If you don't buy it, they don't make money. And if they don't make money, they say, whoa, we should probably not do this anymore. We should do something different. But that doesn't happen. There's those 10% morons who think that it's fine to do this, and then they go ahead and do with it. This is, I think, the biggest thing. This is the biggest thing I think that I'm concerned about. Other companies, not EA. EA will never get the memo. They're toast. And in my prediction, they're dead. They're dead. They're completely gone after this. There's no way that you recover from this, or at least this is a ghost that you have a hard time exercising from your past. Other companies, I don't know if they're going to get the memo. And I don't know if it's all companies, but there's some. I think Activision is they're teetering. They stepped a little bit forward with World War II, but they're still in the loot box game, and they're still in that, and with World War II, and I just don't know if that's gonna be the thing that sinks them. Just if they keep going down this road of, one, not really having very interesting games, but two, diving too deep into microtransactions. Ubisoft is not there, but they're teetering. Are they walking a fine line between just rehashing the same old thing. And it's the exact same reason of people buy their games anyway, and spend money to unlock this or to get a loot box or to buy a skin or blah blah blah, which is fine. But what I don't get is why people buy and spend money on the chance of getting something. Like, push for your companies to give you an actual thing. Like I said, gosh darn did I want that Halloween Reaper skin this year. That Dracula costume, oh, that was so cool. 3,000 coins. You know how many loot boxes I probably had to get to even have the opportunity to either unlock it from a draw or from purchasing it? An unreal level. And I'm not buying the loot boxes, and I'm not going to play enough during the extent of that event to even have a shot at it. And that irritates me, and that's a whole nother issue. But the whole thing with that is, like, could people imagine if Blizzard paywalled characters? Like, if you had to pay for new characters, in a team shooter, if you could only play as like one person from each class, like, oh well, if you want to play this person, you got to pay extra. People would lose their minds. And I'm speaking out of frustration and hostility and fieriness because, I was one of the people, being in my mid-20s now, who was just in the age where online gaming and stuff was just coming into play with the Xbox, and like the Halos and stuff like that. And so for the majority of the games that I was raised on, they didn't have any of this crap. There was no such thing as DLC. You had the game and that was it. And if a game was bad, it was bad, and the company paid for it dearly. But now there has been, with internet and online stuff, there's just been this buffer zone that has been given to companies that they have just abused in creating DLC and different content and stuff like that. And so, to jump back to that EA community quote, the thing that makes me most irritated about that entire post is the first sentence. The intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking different heroes. Playing a game for 40 hours doesn't constitute skill. That's not skill. That's just idiotic wasting of time. Now, what was skill, I remember, was back in the day, Halo, to unlock certain armor sets, you had to do certain things in game. Whether online you had to do, get a certain achievement, or one of my favorite armor sets in Halo, which is the Hayabusa armor. In Halo 3, you had to go through each level at a certain difficulty in the game, I believe, and you had to collect these skulls, that there were literal skulls. And I remember one of the skulls, literally, you literally have to. It's like the second or third to last level in the entire campaign. You have to jump in a sequence through these rings that are in this long linear section, and you have to jump through them in a certain pattern. And it took me forever to find it out online and find a YouTube video, but I did it, and I just, and I remember going through, there's a mission where you have to get a skull that's like tucked away in this crevice, and it's on one of the, the heavy flood missions, and it's nuts, and it was bananas, but it was one of those things that when I came away, I was like, man, I earned it. Like, I did it. And when you wore that Hayabusa armor, you were like, I had to go through some trials and tribulations to be wearing this helmet, my friends. Like, it wasn't something where I just played the game for 40 hours and I got it. And so gosh, I'm repeating myself, and that's the one downfall I know of my own personality is I get so stuck on it. But gosh, how can you, like, how in a conscious decision can you say this is intended to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment? If you have pride after spending $260 on a pay-to-play character, essentially, or 40 hours to unlock one character in an online game, you shouldn't have pride. You should just have sheer depressed whatever. God, I'm just stumbling over myself. You should just be ashamed of yourself. I mean, I remember one of the other examples I have listed I wanted to talk about was the SSX Tricky games. There was a whole bunch of costumes and stuff and like things that you could get and a bunch of boards, and there's like the underboard, which was the best board in the game. To get those boards and to get all those other costumes, you had to unlock them by either completing races and trials and stuff, or you had to complete their trick books, which was, I think, for the costumes. And so for me, I just don't understand what happened to games that everything needs to be paid for now, and that everything needs to be locked behind a paywall. Like, why don't you just make a good game and have us play it and build a fan base and a user base by making consistently good games? That's what builds franchises. The reason The Witcher sold so well and the reason some of these other big games sell well is because they were well made. And everything that was in them from the get-go. And so when you have games, you know, these examples, these shallow examples, like even SSX Tricky and Halo, like there's no excuse in my mind, you know, well, you know, it costs more to make games and we need to recoup our money. Fricken Cuphead sold 1 million copies and they had a studio of 3 devs. It was like 3 guys who made that game. So EA, you're telling me that the dudes who made Cuphead should have put microtransactions in to offset the cost? Like, no, because they're selling millions of copies of this game because it's good and people like it. Ugh. And I think, and just to close it out, because otherwise I'm just gonna keep repeating and saying I don't understand. I feel like a broken record. But this, I think what's frustrating to me is there are good examples of like in-game currency being utilized and in-game currency that isn't contingent on real-world money. One example, and to me, as you know, people have every right to knock the Nintendo Switch online mobile app. It doesn't work well and it's garbage and I don't use it. But they have created one of the coolest game mechanics for me in terms of cosmetic cosmetic content in a game with Splatoon 2. And the way it works, if you don't have Splatoon 2, is you can get an app on your phone, which essentially, you know, it updates you on what the maps are for the current hour. It updates you on your stats. You can look at you know what your current equipment set is and your stats with like that gear and the weapon you have equipped and all that stuff. But they have this awesome feature where you basically have a store, like an online store with like 6 items that changes every so many hours, that you can actually send to your game and use in-game currency to buy. Now, the big kicker for me is that in-game currency, I've verified this with a couple pieces that I've ordered from the app that, you know, I've had sent to my game or whatever, that were close to like 20,000 coins or something like that, whatever the currency's title is. And I remember being like, oh crap, well, now there's this other item that, you know, is only up for another 2 hours, and I really want that too, but I can only send one at a time, so I need to buy this first one first, but I don't have enough money. I swear, it took maybe an hour of gameplay, and that's having like nothing, having like blown all my cash on something else and needing to start from scratch and get, you know, 11,000, 15,000 coins. It literally took me about maybe an hour to do that. So for companies like EA for Battlefront, which is a huge franchise, has the ability and is backed by, you know, Disney and LucasArts and all this stuff, like, you're telling me that option, like, how does that work? Oh gosh, I just don't understand. I gotta quit. I'm just gonna get too riled up. Thanks for tuning in. This is the first time I've ever done something like this, so I apologize for any hiccups in my coughing and not being prepared and having water and doing all that. This is really intended to just be a really quick blurb of an episode, and it's not really even an episode, it's really just a rant. Maybe I'll do these. I might do these down the road more if there's any positive feedback. If we get any feedback, please leave us your feedback on iTunes, Google Play. We're on Stitcher, I realized, and we'll be on YouTube in the future. Please leave your comments and feedback on things that we can improve and make better. We really want to make this show as the Pop Culture Punk Podcast. We really want to make it the best it can be, and we know that that's going to take time and some practice and effort. So please let us know what we can change and improve. Let me know what I can change and improve the next time I do one of these ranty episodes. I'm sure I'm going to hear a mouthful from Zach and Phil, who are going to be like, yep, this is why you're the angry one, and we give you these things to run. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Be sure to leave a comment or a review on iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play. And we thank you for listening, and we appreciate your time. Take it easy, and we'll catch you this Sunday on November 19th. Well, actually, you guys will have access to it the Monday or Tuesday. You guys will have this Tuesday, or that Sunday episode Tuesday. So tune in for that episode, which will be featuring our good friend Tom Jokey. He's going to be talking with us about the Switch and kind of doing a handful of months in review. I'm really excited actually about that show. I think it's going to be really sweet. Phil and I had a kind of like a review when we first launched our show, and it was back when there were only a few games available, and that has drastically changed with the launch of some mega titles and the looming launch of some mega titles as well, especially with Mario Odyssey, which just came out, and you got Skyrim coming this Friday, Doom coming out as well, Wolfenstein 2 from Bethesda, potentially some more collabs. Dudes, I would be totally cool if you guys released Fallout 4. Bethesda, let's get on it. Come on, dudes. That would be sweet for portable. But so this has been Josh of the Pop Culture Punks podcast. Thanks for tuning in, listen to my crazy shenanigans by myself. I texted my wife a little bit ago and told her, if you hear me talking to myself, I'm not crazy. I'm just doing an episode. I don't even know if she's home yet. But thanks for tuning in. Leave us some feedback, and we'll catch you all in the weeks to come. Take it easy, folks.
I just don't have the time.